What is good, Spuds? This is Jesse Whitedeer, host of the Needless Potatoes podcast, starring, drumroll please, me, Jesse Whitedeer. Thanks for joining us. Happy Friday to all of you. Hopefully you're out there staying safe. And our special guest today is the man without fear. He is Sam Valliere. You may applaud. He is a true Renaissance man. He is a former Marine. He is a photographer. He is a writer, and he is a musician. And we sit down and we talk about his photography, his music, his life, all the good stuff that you know you want to hear. And yeah, so thanks for joining us. And Sam's a great friend of mine, and we had a great conversation. Speaking of good friends of mine, you should definitely check out Warlord Radio on Harry Rock Radio, airing every Sunday night. And they're also available on YouTube. You just search Warlord Radio, and it'll pop up, and you'll be, treated to a gaggle, if you will, of episodes. And they're two killer dudes, Carrot Coleman, and Craig Meinhardt. Yep, they're excellent. And if you are in the area of Oklahoma City tomorrow night, February the 8th, it's going to be Oberon, Stonewall, a lady we all know. Doors at 9, show at 10, $7 at the door, 21 and up. Again, that's the Blue Note in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So thank you for joining us. And enjoy the show. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. This is your host, Jesse Whitedeer, at the Needless Potatoes podcast. My guest today is... You gotta say your name, dude.
Hi, I'm Sam Valliere.
Sam Valliere. I call you the man without fear, Sam Valliere.
Well, that's nice of you to say, Jesse.
You're welcome, Sam. Anyways, so we're here in your lovely living room.
Uh-huh. And as I look out the window at these mountains, Jesse, I just can't express enough how grateful I am that you traveled all this way.
You know what? It's
for me.
Well, it's no problem. We're here in Sunnydale, California.
And boy, is it.
Yeah, exactly. It is everything what it should be. But you are a musician by trade, correct?
Kind of. I think I'm a musician by hobby more than anything, though.
Okay, so you're a musician by hobby.
Yeah.
You're a stockbroker by trade, right?
Also just a hobby. I've been running Butts Incorporated since 1992, and I'd say that that's probably my trade.
Is the tagline, they'll drive you nuts?
We'll use it.
Okay. Pending trademark.
You might have a job on our marketing team.
Which consists of you?
No. We've got an office in downtown Sunnydale.
Okay, so it's like I feel like this whole entire staff is just you and like different disguises. You're just like, this is my assistant Milford. You're just like, oh, well, hey, dearie.
Yeah, our customers are also just me in disguise.
Oh, okay.
Also.
But there's like cardboard cutouts of each character, and you have to interact with them. Kind of like I Am Legend. When Will Smith was like, Will Smith, I Am Legend.
He did Wild Wild West, right?
Yeah, he also wrote the smash hit Getting Jiggy With It.
Mm-hmm. Was that his last? No, Wild Wild West was his last hit, right? Was that called? Was the movie Wild Wild West?
The movie was Wild. The movie, yeah, they're both Wild Wild West. I think
what WWW stands for on the internet.
Yeah, Wild Wild West. Google.com.
Wild Wild West.
Yeah,
you remember it?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Hey man, you
can edit any of this out.
We're keeping it all in. You're trying to come out. You're trying to flex on me about Will Smith.
No, I'm not. I don't know. I asked for clarification on who he was, and even said I didn't know the movie you were talking about. I'm not flexing. Okay. No knowledge on that guy.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm just inherently defensive.
I just once saw him on TRL.
Oh, Total Request. Yeah, that Total Request Live with Carson Daly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you watch that growing up?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I was a 106 in Park kind of guy. BET.
Oh.
Freestyle Fridays with Jim, the NC, or MC Jin.
Well, now you're flexing.
I mean, I'm just saying. But yeah, no, I watched that, and then until one of my sisters, inevitably would kick me off the TV, and then I would just go outside and play or whatever,
Yeah.
ride my bike, hang out with my best friend Logan Kyle Wood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Logan.
Did he ride bikes too?
He did. He would come to ride a bike to my house. We would hang out. We'd go to my room and play Grand Theft Auto, and then he would go home. And he would say, Father, that Jesse fellow is letting me engage in Grand Theft Auto.
Oh.
And they would say, but boy, we are most perturbed by that game.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
And then they would say he couldn't come over, and then he'd come over, and then during this whole thing. So, that's the endearing friendship that I have with Logan Colwood.
Is he used his parents as an excuse to not hang out with you?
Well, maybe that's maybe the past
what happens.
Maybe the past 20 years have all been a lie. No, he I don't know. You got me fucked up about that now.
I'm sure it's not the case. For all of you wondering, though, Logan is the guy that drums for Oberon.
Yeah, he is the drummer for the influential Oberon, the mighty Oberon.
Yeah.
And but you play music as well, right? You were in a killer, awesome band called Sweeper.
That was a long time ago too. Yeah.
Along with the Mikey Hamilton of Crowbone.
Mikey was in the band.
And then Matt Knight.
Yeah, Matt Knight was in the band.
Justin Johnson.
Justin Johnson played drums.
Of the Big Kids Club, right?
He had been in a band called the Big Kids Show.
Big Kids Show.
Yep.
And then Ryan Daniels, right? Ryan Davis.
Ryan Phillips.
Ryan Phillips.
Yeah, he played.
I totally botched his name. We're going to edit that out. Sorry.
He played
Ryan.
bass.
So, but you guys did, you recorded that one EP, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of that EP?
It was called High Point.
Can people still find that on the net?
It's on YouTube if you search Sweeper High Point. I don't think it'll come up if you just search Sweeper or if you just search High Point.
Okay.
You have to do all three.
Okay. And then there's also an awesome music video for the song Optic Glass, which you wrote. And it's of you guys playing in the middle of a roller derby match.
Not a match, but yeah, there were a bunch of people on skates around us. And I wrote the lyrics to that song, but the music was written primarily by Mikey.
Oh, okay.
That should be said.
Oh, all right. But and so are you just now musically, and you've done some like singer-songwriter stuff. You played Vintage 22, and you played Ada Fest, and you've played some other, Yeah,
I got to do Gypsy Cafe in Stillwater and stuff.
Yeah, so you've done some shows here and there as like a singer-songwriter. Can you like explain the difference between like what it's like to travel and play music as a band as opposed to like singer-songwriter? The obvious points would be that there's more people, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But is it like more of a challenge, I guess, for you?
Yeah. Like if I'm singing with a band and stuff, it feels, especially with that band, it was a lot like karaoke in a way, where like I didn't think about what the players were going to do. I just was able to just sing, and I knew that it was going to be right. Like I didn't worry that they were going to forget parts. I didn't worry that the songs were going to go off the rails. I felt comfortable and like I had the freedom to just be able to move around those songs and have fun with them and stuff like that without sweating too much. And then like when it's just me and a guitar, like it's a lot more to remember.
Is it more like personal? More intimate?
No, I'd say it's less, because a lot of the songs that I play at acoustic shows are covers, and while there are songs that I enjoyed playing, and it's not nearly as intimate as the full band playing playing rock songs that we wrote.
And you do an awesome rendition cover of Number of the Beast.
Thank you.
What was it? Billy Corgan. He did his band Swan or Zon.
Swan, yeah.
Swan. They did a cover of it.
Yeah.
And that was at the beginning, the opening credits of The Innocent Man.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is on Netflix.
It was also on Spun, which is an old a movie from the late 90s. And Zwan is featured heavily on that soundtrack. It's like it's their acoustic stuff when they were going as the Dolly Swan, which was like the acoustic sort of version of Zwan. And and it's not Billy Corgan singing on that, on the Number of the Beast. He's playing guitar, but it's I can't remember who it is that actually is singing on it. But they're on that soundtrack quite a bit. And Billy even is in that movie where he has a cameo playing a doctor, and he's wearing like this blonde wig, and he kind of looks like Andy what's his name? Andy Warhol.
Oh, okay.
Like a big, tall Billy Corgan, Andy Warhol.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And another, Another notable thing about that show, The Innocent Man, available on Netflix, is that your girlfriend, Chriselle, the great Chriselle, did makeup on there.
Yep. Yeah. She got to do makeup for part of that kind of early on in her film makeup career.
That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And but the reason I bring that song up and the reason I bring that show up is in the opening credits, when you can kind of hear the first keys. I thought, no fucking way, he actually did it. But no.
Yeah, somebody asked me after one of the shows if I played that song because of The Innocent Man. And
you should have immediately pointed him out, and I would have kicked him out.
No, I mean, it was a fair question, but I told her, I said, no, it was because of like that version that was on Spun and stuff like that.
Ah.
And
well, that was so I usually wear a jean vest with like Jeff Henneman, the rhythm guitarist to Slayer.
Yeah, you're wearing it right now.
Yeah. Oh, am I? Yeah, that's right. So, but there's a picture of him, on the back of the vest. People will come up and they'll be like, hey, that's cool or whatever, stuff like that. But then this guy came up to me and he said, hey, man, he said, are you wearing that because you like Metallica? And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, man, are you wearing that because you like Metallica? Metallica, right? The rock band?
Wait, so he saw an image of a guy that he thought was in Metallica.
And then he
plastered on your jacket, and then he was still wondering. That's just a stupid question, even if you thought that was Metallica.
It was a weird thing. And like
that's like me saying, do you like the X-Men? Are you wearing that because you like the X-Men?
Yeah.
Underneath his jacket, he's wearing an X-Men shirt. X-Men
sweater.
Yeah. Accurate.
I mean, semantics, But no, yeah. So then he was like, so this guy proceeded to try to explain Metallica to me, and I was like,
even though you were wearing it was on your jacket, supposedly
to him, yeah. And then I was like, okay, and then I just like left because like another time actually,
then I just like left.
I just left. I was just like, I don't know where this is going.
Because like explaining Metallica. How did he explain Metallica?
Well, he was just like, they're like a rock band. They like have the song Inner Sandman, and like that was it. And then I was like, oh, okay.
You're like, I'm out.
Yeah, that band. Okay. No, but that was like another time where I was at a show with the Mighty Oberon, and I was wearing the same vest, and this guy came up to me. And he said, hey, man, he said, Slayer fucking sucks, man. He said, Metallica rules, brother. And I was like, and he was like,
and he had a fair point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. They're just kidding. They're not all zingers. Let's just say that. So, but he So he said that to me, and I was like, oh, kind of laughed it off. Hey, cool, man. Because I'll hear that sometimes, I'll wear like a band shirt or, I'll wear that vest, and people will be like, oh, Metallica. They'll be like, and there's a Megadeth patch on the front, and they'll be like, oh, Megadeth or whatever. And then most often it's either people will explain to me about like Metallica, or they'll explain to me about like Pantera. But it's almost often people that are like, hey, Slayer's cool and all, but like, Metallica this or Pantera that. So in this situation, this guy was like, yeah, it's kind of weird. But in this situation, this guy was like, Metallica fucking rules, brother. And I was like, cool, man. Good on you. And then like as the night proceeded, he got more and more intoxicated. And then he would just like go, Metallica rules, brother. But it's more and more incoherent until like at the end of the night, he was like, I just seen him and he was like leaning against the bar, and he's barely awake, and he could like barely form his fingers into the rock and roll symbol, double horns. But I could just see his mouth, and he was going, Metallica rules, brother. And I was like, oh, all right. But like I was never like, he was just a friendly drunk, so I was like, oh, cool, man.
Oh, shit.
I was like, hell yeah. He's like, oh man. He said he's like, do you ever just like fucking hear like Seek and Destroy and listen and be like, yeah, that's it. He's like, man. He's like, when I heard fucking that first album, Kill 'Em All, he's like, dude. He's like, me and my cousin used to get smashed on in his Camaro, and I was like, okay. Please leave me alone, Dad. Not one.
Those sound like quintessential Metallica memories.
Yeah,
right there
like that's very Metallica.
Yeah,
and
it's the soundtrack to his life.
To riding around in a Camaro in rural Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever. Yeah, so that's my only cool story about any of my vests and stuff. Yeah, I know. But but
I bet they'll have more stories.
I mean, maybe
as they get older.
One thing that people seem to like about me is that I also wear almost like a light blue jacket with like material, this dress material that has like birds and stuff on it.
Oh.
And I have a name tag on that says John. And almost people who don't know me will come up and say, so your name's John? That's another weird one.
So people really like that they can see your name on your clothes?
I think so. Like it makes me more identifiable. Or I guess
approachable, apparently.
Yeah, like it lets they can let their guard down. So they're
That's interesting.
That is.
I think I've found that also that band tees and stuff like that, they definitely give people an opportunity to jump in and talk a little bit. I use band t-shirts as opportunities to talk to people.
Do you?
I'll be like, yeah, hey, I really like your shirt. And a lot of times they'll say, thanks.
Okay. That's how you rekindle with loved ones? You were just like, I like your shirt. And they're like,
well, no,
thanks.
strangers. Just strangers.
Oh, okay.
Strangers.
I thought that's how you communicate with anybody.
No. Well, I mean, yeah, usually if it's like a loved one, there's a conversation that'll continue afterward.
Oh, okay.
And usually a conversation that was like preceding it also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just one rolling conversation.
Yeah, as they tend to be.
Okay. It's like the infinity symbol. It's just always looping.
Yeah, until we shut up.
Does that mean death?
Yeah. And if you die in the game, you die in real life.
Okay.
So
That's this has led to some interesting an interesting point.
What do you want to talk about next? We've already talked about music.
Well, we always talking about music and then
talked
death.
About the X-Men and death.
X-Men and death, of course.
We talked about your neighbor.
My neighbor.
Yeah. Just like 2 seconds ago, we were talking about how your neighbor was throwing their old popcorn kernels on your porch.
Oh yeah, that's right. That never happened. Actually, funny story. So I feel like this is just going to be a podcast of me telling you weird stories happen. But, and I'm not like fucked up emotionally about any of them, but, not yet anyways.
Doubtful.
No, there was, yeah. So, I lived on not gonna say the street because I'm not gonna like bury the street.
No, you gotta keep some people's anonymity intact, and
So,
people might not end up being able to know where you live a little.
Yeah,
You gotta be careful with that on the internet.
that's like some Bob Ross type of stuff. You're just spouting wisdom over here. You don't even know it.
I remember that episode where he was just like painting trees. And
Yeah.
he was like, don't let people know where you live.
Oh, yeah.
They'll find you on the internet.
They'll find you on the internet and they'll touch you with their gangly hands.
Now let's just clean this brush.
Okay.
You were going to tell me a story.
Oh, I was waiting on you.
About your neighbor.
Yeah. So I lived on this nameless street here in Ada, Oklahoma. Beautiful Ada, Oklahoma. The city of fresh spring water. Come and see us sometime. I just plugged my own hometown.
This podcast is now brought to you by Travel Ada.
This podcast brought to you by Travel Ada, sponsored by the Chickasaw Nation. No, so I was pulling into my driveway, whatever, and I was like getting out, and I was going, and my roommate, I was living with a buddy at the time, so I was going into our house, and I look across the street, and this guy and his like entire family are like outside. They're almost always outside, like yelling, having some kind of quarrel. But like this man was in a towel, and he was like, fucking.
He was in a towel?
He was in a towel.
Okay.
And he was like standing in the yard, and he's like, man, somebody fucking stop her. He said, she's taking all my shit. She's taking my TV. He said, and I can't do nothing because I'm in a towel. And he was.
Who was he shouting at?
His relatives, I guess
the other people.
The other people in the yard.
What were they wearing?
Well, there was a very hefty lady there.
Yeah.
Who looked like the mom from What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and she was just kind of like leaned up against this car, like, eh. And then there was another skinnier, gangly chick that was like loading a TV and other things into a car.
Oh, so she was the one he was screaming about.
Yeah, but like no one else like felt to stop her. But like,
I mean, was the other lady leaning on the car. She was bringing the TV too.
No. So there was like two separate cars. Like there was like a minivan type of situation that was probably 5 feet in front of another vehicle.
Okay.
And the vehicle that was parked behind the van was the one that this girl was loading stuff into, and the guy was like, "Yeah, stop her."
Yeah.
I can't do it because I'm in a towel. But he emphasized the word towel because he was like, "Because I'm in a towel," and then she just like loaded his stuff up and drove off. And another time, I was at the Sonic here in Ada, and I was because Sonic's on Mississippi, so there's between Sonic and Taco Bell, and directly across from Sonic, you can see Comet Cleaners, and in the parking lot of Comet Cleaners after hours, these men were exchanged. This guy, I guess, was selling another gentleman a dog.
Yeah.
So he pulled up, and this guy got out of his car. This other guy had a dog in the back of his truck. And he's like handed it over, and I was like, "Yeah, that's Ada. It's making just selling dogs,
dog deals
across from the Sonic."
You see what kind of dog it was?
I didn't, but then also,
see, that seems normal though. Like that seems like a normal thing to do.
Well, here's the thing though, is like that guy, he then used the dog money to come to Sonic and buy himself some food.
Are you sure it was the same money?
I mean, I don't know.
No, he was like, I found a person to buy the puppy.
Well, it was a dog.
I found a person to buy the dog,
uh-huh.
And now I'm gonna go get Sonic.
Yeah, like I'm in celebration.
Like, you think he was celebrating?
I don't know. That was the thing, but
that's
like
an odd assumption to make, though.
Well,
I'm interested in where you got that.
Okay, well let me finish the story. So then he like comes over, and and he's like in a big dually truck or whatever, and he gets his food, and then he's just like, out of nowhere, he was just like, I can't fucking eat this shit, and he just like dumps a bag on the floor on the ground, and he's like drives off, and then and I'm not accusing this man of anything, but there's always like a gang of dogs always missing around Ada, and I thought I might have recognized that dog.
Oh, so you think he grabbed a stray dog and sold it?
And then used that money to the fruit of his loins to buy not the fruit of his loins, the fruit of his spoils, the fruit of his loins, the his spoils of dog trading to
Well, that's smart.
Is it? Because he stole this dog and then sold it.
That dog was a stray, and he found it a home, and then went and got himself a celebratory meal, but he couldn't finish it knowing there were more strays out there needing homes.
Right. But see, and that was the thing, though, was like
And gas ain't cheap in that dually, so he has to sell them.
Well, yeah, I just thought, I don't know. I didn't feel good about it.
That's fair. You were there. I'm just playing.
Well, yeah, and that was like, this was like, let's see, 7 years ago?
Oh, so
6,
likely
7?
you were drunk through all of this and it didn't happen.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing up my massive drinking problem that I had from age 22 to 25. Thanks, Dad.
Well, I mean, it didn't last very long.
Well,
It's hardly worth talking about anymore.
Okay. I'll stop bringing it up every time we hang out. I just had a fucking mess. No, but
Wait, how old are you now?
well, actually, I'm 29. I'll be 30.
Yeah.
Which is scary.
Yeah?
I'll be 30 years old on the 12th.
What scares you about 30?
I don't know. I felt like I would have done more.
You would have done more?
I should have done more.
Oh, yeah.
But, I don't know what I'm basing that on. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm just in, perpetual motion.
Well, just keep on keeping on, buddy.
Keep on trucking.
Keep on trucking.
Okay.
Keep doing new things all the time.
Thanks.
Yep.
See, and this is what I like about you is that you're very supportive. Off air, I said that, you're handsome. You're very comforting. You're a nice guy. You're very compassionate. But if you were only 4 inches taller, you'd be out of control.
Out of control.
Well, then there was that time that I met up with you and your son at Applebee's, and you were wearing a peach shirt with the top 2 buttons I buttoned. And I said, "You look like you own a yacht."
Oh, yeah.
Like you had that look going on. And yeah.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I still don't own a yacht, though.
Oh, okay. Am I the friend that you hear something or I say something to you and you're just like, that was weird. That was odd.
You are a friend.
Okay.
That
says those things.
That says those things some of the time.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that it's anything alarming.
Oh, that's good.
Or especially noteworthy or anything like that. You're a fairly regular guy to talk to.
Okay.
With some interesting things to say.
Interesting.
And whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah. No worries. Is there any more nice stuff you want me to say about you?
Oh, I don't know. I think this podcast just feeds my ego or something, because I'm always so what else do you like about me? No, not really. But you do photography. Transitioning. No, but you do photography, correct? You take photos?
Yes.
And you did that while you were in the Marines, being all you can be, correct?
I think you're all you can be in the Army.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. We'll edit that part out.
That's all right. No, you don't have to. It's good to clarify this stuff so people know.
Yeah.
I was a photographer in the Marine Corps, though.
In the Marine Corps, yes. Yeah. How long were you in the Marine Corps?
For 4 years.
That's exciting. And you, now, being a photographer in the Marines, did that kind of spark that interest in photography that you have now? Or was it just one of those things of it was happenstance in your journey of being a photographer?
Probably both, because
okay.
My mom always took photos, and I always had an appreciation for visual things. I've always liked to look at things and explore pictures and stuff. And so I think it was kind of going to happen anyway, but it was serendipitous that when I joined the Marine Corps, that was the job that was one of the jobs that was available, and I didn't, even going in, I didn't know that it was going to be photography. I thought it was more public affairs based, and it was, but there was a lot of photography too. Sorry, I'm boring you.
No, that's fine.
Sorry, I don't know.
No. You weren't boring me at all. I was genuinely interested. I don't know what you want from me.
I want you to repeat what I just said.
You said
no,
that.
just kidding. It was long.
Oh, okay. Well, I was really.
I was trailing off. You're right.
No, you're fine. But do you like, as far as photography as a medium, like, do you think it has its place as opposed to like with music or with like conversation, things like that, or like, do you consider it like a very viable piece of like artwork? Like can I guess another question would be like, can photos tell a story?
Oh, absolutely. That's what as a photojournalist, that's what the intention behind all the photos that I took was to tell as much of the story in that one moment as possible. And so that was what I really like about it, is observing a situation where a million things are happening at once, identifying what's most important, finding the best way to convey that, all of the important things in one just moment in time like that. It's a really cool thing.
And
it absolutely can, and it does. There's millions of photos that demonstrate its ability to do that.
And do you think that, and by doing those things, do you think it lends itself to like another? Oh, sorry. Sorry. Do you think that lends itself to like other artistic? Do you think that like your photography feeds your like writing music or like playing guitar and vice versa? Do you think that there's any correlation between the two? Do you think it comes from like the same place, I guess?
In certain ways, yes. In that it's trying to harness a moment in time and create something out of it that's lasting. So yeah, in that way it is. As far as like when I'm approaching a song or something like that, I think, yeah, in a way it is. Like, because it's taking a snapshot of an idea and trying to say it in the most clear way while being concise. That's something that is one of the challenges of photography as well.
Is trying to get the whole, like, everything to line up in that one moment, right?
Yeah, whether it's in a collection of words in a song, or just trying to find all the right spots in a scene to capture.
And what were like some of the things you learned to do those things? Like, is there something that sets capturing something in the moment? Like, is there certain techniques that you can do as a amateur photographer to do that, to get better at those things?
Aside from like the normal, just like getting to know your gear and stuff like that, I think the best thing that you can do if you're approaching it from an artistic standpoint would be to develop empathy as much as possible, because the more that you can understand a moment from as many perspectives as possible, the more channels and roads you have to travel as you're trying to describe it or present it.
Wow. And see, and that's one thing that I get is because a fantastic photographer that you and I both know is Mr. Chris Coffey, and he's photographed like Ada Fest, numerous bands. So definitely shout outs to Chris Coffey.
Yeah, he's a good photographer. I like his stuff.
But one thing that like stuff that whenever he takes a photo is that like I can definitely like especially like music, because like musicians playing like guitarist or vocalist or whatever it is you kind of capture that. He captures that energy in that moment, and you kind of can harness that. One thing that because he took some pictures for me when I booked a benefit show down here in beautiful Ada, Oklahoma, that you played.
The pause benefit.
The pause benefit show, yeah, the first one, the good one.
That was great.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic, and I think White Deer Entertainment did a fantastic job.
Definitely a flagship show of White Deer Entertainment.
Yes, they're great.
It was awesome.
They're A1 steak sauce, but I remember that he took this photo of you, and you can just like kind of see it, like you can kind of feel all that energy captured in that one moment. And I definitely relate that photo. I think it's just a photo of you're singing, you got your eyes closed and stuff. But like I can definitely, it triggers that moment, a moment in my head of like when you were singing Optic Glass, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier. And like one of the lyrics that stands out for me is that you said that traveled across the ocean, reflecting the last light.
Found strength to cross an ocean.
Yeah.
Reflected the last light.
Looking for a hidden truth.
Looking for a hidden truth.
Only to find a fight. Yeah. So, like, but that lyric always stands out in that song to me, which you can definitely go check that out on YouTube. Just search Sweeper Optic Glass. But whenever you're singing that, I always would like. I would sing the lyric to myself, and then I would like punch in the air.
I remember you doing that.
Yeah, to let people know that we're in a fight. So, but do you kind of going back to your music and stuff? Whenever you do post like a photo, or whenever you do like write a song, or whenever you do cover someone else's song, is it like what kind of do you feel like a sense of validation from people that do hear it? Like if you do say the lyric like only to find a fight, and you see a guy punching in the air, is that kind of does that give you something? Like is it kind of?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, like it that's the kind of thing that like made I think you're hitting the nail on the head. Is like one of the things that like made playing with a band so much better and more like just better than acoustic stuff. Is like that's just the strength of that band or something.
Which it was an awesome band.
They were like it was. I mean, vocals aside, it was a good band. And
it was awesome, man.
And like they were. I always said they were like that. Being in that band was like playing and being able to sing for like the band that I wanted to, like a band that I would genuinely was a fan of and stuff like that. But that when people were able to like when I knew people were connecting in a meaningful way with the lyrics, it always meant a little more, because it just kind of showed that it's like having a conversation, like when you're talking to somebody, and then an active listener will give you the yeah sure, all that stuff that shows that they're listening, and it helps the conversation move forward. It just helps. It's nice to just know that, and that's kind of I think what it is. It's just nice to know that people are actually listening and digesting and stuff like that. It's nice to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was another thing, was like a lyric that stuck out to me was I think it was I forgot the song. No, that's not good. But like I remembered there was a lyric you had said Oklahoma's just a dream.
Oh, that was in Restless. Yeah.
Restless, yeah. And that was another thing, because we had talked before, and you said that you had written that from the perspective of like a female, right? A woman. Mm-hmm. Now, is it like, have you been approached like as far as like a songwriter, or is it just that you write a song and you write it as a perspective from like a woman's
in that
point
case,
of view?
In that case, that was a little bit of therapy, because I wrote it from a specific woman's point of view, in an effort to try to understand that person a little bit more. And the intention was also for that person to sing it. I wrote that before Sweeper was together. So that's where that came from. That was just it just happened to be that what I was trying to understand and put together into a song had to do with me putting myself into another person's shoes a little bit. So that's why that's written about and from. Well, it's shifted because it's kind of from my, like, the introduction, the restless this child that's been given to me. That's from my self, male Sam perspective. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of it is about this child that's been given to me, but it's written kind of from my perspective about that.
Oh wow. Well, and just seeing like some of your photographs is like kind of, I get that sense. Like I get that same energy as far as from your music, and I think that it translates very well to your photography.
Thank you.
So, I can definitely pick up on the energy of both. And I think that's important because, like, yeah, absolutely. Because I think that, and I tell people all the time, is that whatever you're writing, or whether you're playing music, or you're like writing a TV show, or whatever you're doing, whatever medium you're in, is it should be like easy to digest. It should be easy to obtain, because you shouldn't make things too complicated. I look at it like fighting. Like you're whether you're a boxer or MMA fighter or whatever, you want things to be. You want a simple one too, because if it's effective, it's going to work. Obviously, well, most of the time. Yeah. But that's kind of a simple. I'm not simplify it, but you want things to be easy. You want it to be in succession. You want to remember like the combination 1, 2, and then maybe you'll add a 3, 4. But I think for me, like I want things to be easy, digestible for people, and I think that people will relate more to that. Would you agree, disagree, or?
Yeah, I think people would probably relate more to digestible things. Yeah, mm-hmm. and that's always been important to me, is essentially legibility. I mean, mm-hmm. I want while I want people to kind of walk away from it, not entirely. No, I try to keep things vague in a certain sense, I think, but I like for people to be able to at least identify with things, and hopefully sneak in a different thought. That's really what it is. I'm trying to mirror what other people think and what other people see, but because that's what it is I see the same thing as you. It's just filtered through my head. Mm-hmm. and that's all when we're creating any sort of art. That's really, I think, what we're doing is just kind of getting, filtering all of our information through our brains and then taking it out of our bodies again.
Right, and just kind of pushing it out.
Yeah, and so it's invariably it's going to be digestible, because we're all sharing the same human experience, and we're all, just eating and regurgitating all the same shit anyway. So mm-hmm. I imagine it's, I don't know where I'm going with that, but
no, I understand. Like I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's all like a shared experience.
Yeah,
and whenever you're producing art or whatever, and you're kind of getting it out, is mm-hmm. you want it to be, you share some thoughts and feelings in it, in addition to the listener, the viewer.
It gives that perfect balance of those two opposites, of the individual and the collective, by having an individual voice that harnesses the collective, or that is still within the process, this thought process of the collective. You're able to have both the comfort of the collective with individual thoughts bouncing around within it also. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do. That's what we all do.
That's what you do as like a musician or as like a photographer. And you're also a graphic designer, right? You do a little bit of graphic design?
Yeah. I do a lot of graphic design.
So is
Yeah.
it like, is it that same kind of rule of thumb applies to graphic design? Is you want it to be easily digestible? Because I've worked on some stuff myself, and one thing that you had I had taken from you is that you had always said like information first. So you want the who, where, what, and why.
Mm-hmm.
You want that prevalent,
Yeah.
and then you kind of want to build everything around it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a lot of like obvious for anything that you do, like as far as any artistic outputs?
I think that's something that is that's some. I think a lot of that sensibility is something that I took from when I was in the Marine Corps and I was learning when I was doing photojournalism and learning how to write a story with the inverted pyramid method, where you put the most important stuff in the lead. Everything that all the stuff that the person needs to walk away from will be at the very beginning, and then if they continue to want to read, they'll get more information that's less important. But the most important stuff is up front, and it's about and you present it in the most clear, concise way possible.
Mm-hmm.
Now switching gears to graphic design, it's a matter of taking information and presenting it in as clear, concise a way as possible, and depending on what you're designing for, you shift. If it's a marketing thing, if you're selling things, then you know that you have to catch people's eye in a way also. So you have to consider that and into it. Now, if you're designing for something that it doesn't really matter if it catches people's eye, it's a subtle package or something like that for a product, then you design around that. But the most important thing is that people don't necessarily question what it is, or what it is you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
That generally is the most important thing. Is you have to be able to you have to be able to articulate a statement in a clear, concise way, and that I think that goes across the board for a lot of the stuff. I mean, it's something that I guess is in the background of pretty much all the different kind of like art stuff I make, and like whether
Mm-hmm.
music or design or photos,
Whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's something that's
awesome.
a part of it.
And is it now? And I've had this conversation with DJ Bryant of Oberon,
Mm-hmm.
where we've talked about, and also John Bomboy. Is that really like as
Both
far as
cool dudes,
both awesome cool dudes, super cool dudes. But it's one of those things of you almost have to kind of be. You have to be a musician, but then you also have to be a little bit of like a promoter. You have to be a little bit of like graphic design. Because DJ, he is a musician first, but he's an amazing graphic design artist as well. Which you can check him out on, I believe it's DJ Bryant Design on Facebook. And you can kind of look at some of the posters he's done. And he's done a lot of, he actually did the logo for this podcast. And he's done stuff for like AdaFest. He's also done stuff for... his band Oberon, but also a lot of my posters for White Deer Entertainment. And same thing with John. John's done a lot of stuff for like Early Vintage, and he's done stuff on his own. So, and kind of speaking with both of them is like, you really have to be this combination of different things. You have to be a graphic designer, you have to kind of be a booker, and you have to be a musician. Can you kind of like touch on... Is there anything else that like I'm missing, or you can kind of speak on maybe your own experiences as far as being this kind of combo musician, booker, graphic design? Because you've done all three, obviously.
Yeah, when like I don't really book much. I don't really try.
But you've booked yourself, or you've like helped book tours.
When I was really working on that stuff like actively and really like trying to do the DIY band stuff, it was important to be able to do all of that stuff at the same time and to be able to knock it out quickly. And it helped that the rest of the band was all really creative dudes, and so we could knock around ideas pretty easily, and we it was cool. Like we were kind of just a fun little creative circus together, and so it was generally easy to stay excited about all the different aspects of being in a band together. sometimes that stuff can wear on people. I think the business side of the band, but we were excited and really believed in it, so it made everything a lot easier.
Well, yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things of, you got to kind of, it helps if there are other people like that in the band, but, definitely if you know that you can kind of bring different plates to the table, so to speak, then it kind of, it's a little bit easier.
It made it easier, yeah.
Yeah.
And having a general, it's just having come up doing, like since I started working at 18, when I joined the Marine Corps, it's my whole I'm 36 now, and the whole time it's been all public affairs, marketing, graphic design, photography, visual communication, like the whole. I did some IT for some years too, but even then I was still freelancing, and so it's like when it came time to just apply that stuff, all those skills between college and work and all that stuff, all of it. And I'd worked in AV before, doing large productions. I'd been a DJ. Like all these things just all came together with the band, with that. So it was really easy to just jump in and just point all of those things in that one direction. And I think that really, like, everything fell into place, I think, because just all those skills were just ready to go and ready to have something like that.
Almost like a little Swiss Army knife type of thing.
Yeah. I was thinking I was going to use a Swiss Army knife in I need to make a logo for myself, and I was thinking I was going to use a Swiss Army knife for that.
Oh, yeah. That's exciting.
Mikey said something about that the other day too.
This is Mikey Ham from Crowbone.
Yeah.
Formerly of Sweeper.
Yep. Formerly of Guthrie.
Of Guthrie, Oklahoma. Now he lives in Yukon.
Yeah,
I interviewed him and Crowbone a few weeks ago.
How'd that go?
Went fantastic. They're all great guys.
Yeah, they are.
That episode will probably come out before this one will. So,
good.
If you guys have listened to that episode, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Those guys are definitely solid. And kind of, wrapping up here. What local bands are you kind of plugged into? Like what local bands are you listening to, like local artists and things like that? And can you kind of explain, is there maybe a little bit of advice for like upcoming musicians? Kind of continuing from like local bands is, we have Crowbone, which, they're kind of in the workshop phase right now, but they're definitely going to be out doing shows, hitting the road with their new drummer. Devil Theory is getting a bass player together and stuff, and they're kind of hitting the road. Oberon's doing their stuff as well. A Lady We All Know is doing their stuff. Of course, Lucid Awakening, Being Without, Bugnog, Turbo Wizard. Sorry if I'm forgetting anybody, but like, can you, like, what local bands are you really rooting for? Like, whenever you hear a good local band, like, what is it that stands out, I guess?
Well, I mean,
and maybe that's like
the band. I don't know how to answer that question, but the band that I've been rooting for lately is Sixth Gear. Because,
yeah, definitely.
Those kids, I love them, and I think that they have something really special. I've known them since before Brandon was probably playing back then, but before the rest of them, any played, or like before Jesse was playing anything, and before he could sing, and when they were just kids talking about starting a band, and their hustle is commendable, and they've got a really cool sound and visual thing going. So I'm totally rooting for those guys. And there are a lot of bands in Oklahoma doing their thing too. I don't get out to shows very much these days, and I don't really listen to a lot of local music these days.
Okay,
so well, I can't really comment on them too much.
You just kind of sold the last part of this.
I mean, I'm just being real. But I played with a few of the bands that you listed, and I know Turbo Wizard. I like those guys, and of course I love Crowbone.
Of course, yeah.
And that stuff.
But like Isaac McClung is another guy that stands out from Stillwater.
Yeah, he's doing really good. I like his songs. He's got a really beautiful voice.
Oh yeah, his record or his EP that came out, Fresh Flowers, I believe.
Yeah, that he worked on with Luke Talon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a guy that you should get on your show.
Definitely.
Good old
Luke Talon. Good old Luke. Hit me up. We're on Instagram. We're on the Facebook. Let us know.
You should hit him up.
Okay. Well, I'll reach out to him. But yeah. But hey, man, once again, it was really cool to kind of do this and stuff, and I kind of really, I just want to say I appreciate all your support and everything over the years. You were the reason I did this podcast, because I was like, hey, I kind of want to do a podcast, and you said, hey, here's this interface, go do it, kid.
But you didn't even need the interface.
I know.
So here's the thing. I'm not the reason you did this podcast. You did this podcast because you said, hey, I'm going to do a podcast. And then you got all the stuff you needed for a podcast, and you did a podcast. So good job. You did that.
I feel like I'm one of those people that I don't take compliments well, so I need to
I'm not complimenting you.
I need to
complimenting you. I'm not saying you did a good job on your podcast.
Oh, okay.
I told you I haven't listened to any of them.